when did your interest in art begin?
Well, my interest in art began when I was, I was like in second grade. And a lot of the boys in my class were drawing. And at that particular time, it was early 90s, so the biggest thing was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Bart Simpson. And I remember the boys were over there in the corner drawing, trying to, do the little characters. And I remember I approached a boy and I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" He told me what they were doing. I was like, "Well, can I draw?" And he was like, "No, you can't draw because you're a girl." I said, "What?" And I don't know where it came from. When I was a little girl, I was like, "No, nobody's not going to tell me I can't do something."
That was a challenge.
Right. So I remember taking the piece of paper at home. No, I went to another boy and he showed me how to do the basic like shapes and stuff. So I remember that weekend I went home with my little piece of paper and I was determined to draw the characters over and over again. I kept practicing and practicing. And then finally I came to school and I showed them how to draw the characters and they were like, okay. So I think after that I just became more in depth with art. So.
When did you know you were going to pursue it as a calling or a profession? Was it that early in life, or did that come later on?
I think when I was a kid, it was just something I liked to do. I used to color a lot. I had my favorite class was art class, and my teacher used to come, and I used to, do little patterns and cut out stuff. But I think it was just over a gradual period of time. That's what people started to know me as, is the artsy girl.
Okay.
So I think it was in high school when I realized I wanted to take it more so in a profession. And I remember I had an art teacher and he went to the Art Institute and I was like, yeah, I want to go to the Art Institute and be all artsy and cool and stuff. But at that time I wanted to be an illustrator. And I was determined to be an illustrator, and then finally it switched over. Probably to my senior year I realized that I did not want to be an illustrator, nor I wanted to be an animator. Then I went to Disney World and I saw how they animate Mickey Mouse and I was turned off by it. I was like, I cannot imagine myself sitting in the studio drawing the same thing over and over and over again. I was like, no way. So it was just one day I just was watching TV and I think it was a Coca-Cola spot, which ironically that's my client right now. I saw a commercial. I was like, what about advertising? So, and that's kind of where I wanted to go. So
interesting, full circle. Your career path has taken you to a variety of different positions, like any profession, any career, from graphic designer to art director to senior art director to different locations. Tell me more about your career path from college graduate to art director.
Well, I graduated from Columbia College back in 2004 with a degree in advertising art. And the first thing I realized is when I got out of school that I did not have a job. So that was kind of like a bummer. And from then I was like, okay, I had to figure out a plan for myself. I'm like, I'm an art director. I'm new to the biz. I'm a woman, which I found out when I was in college, there's not too many black females that were doing what I was doing. So I knew that was another challenge that I had to deal with. So I had a hard time finding a job when I got out. First thing, he said, well, we need somebody with experience. And I'm like, well, if you don't hire me, how can I get the experience that I need, to be a part, to join the advertising world? And that was my biggest challenge. So I landed actually an internship at a company called Grant & Jacoby back in 2004. And it was a great company. It was a good starter for me because the clients that I worked on was Blimpie Sandwiches, CTA, and I did some stuff for the epilepsy chapter of Chicago, which was actually my very first print ad. So that got produced and everything. So the company closed once they lost their biggest client, which was kind of like something I kind of learned early on about the advertising world. Sometimes these companies have these big clients, and if you have a small shop and that client goes away, then you don't have any money. So therefore the agency had to close. So that was the situation with that. I didn't have a job. I ended up, which was kind of funny because I ended up applying on Monster.com, and a company called me back and they was like, yeah, we're looking for an entry-level graphic designer. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So this company was really cool. I had an opportunity to do a lot of collateral work dealing with senior retirement homes and senior living. So that I stayed there for about almost 2 years. From then, I got laid off from there. From then, I ended up landing a job. No, from then I started freelancing in the year 2000. By this time, it was 2007. So I was freelancing a lot of different smaller shops here in Chicago. A lot of the shops were African American owned shops, which was a different experience because I came from general market, which is totally different, I want to say atmosphere, arena, an experience. So I went there, which was fine. I worked on clients such as, I did a lot of pitch work when I was at these agencies. I worked on Lexus, I worked on Converse, Campbell Soup. So, and from then on, after the freelance, which is fine, but I mean, I think the freelance situation, well, I like freelance, I like the freedom of freelance, but at the same time, I think I was looking for something a little bit more stable. So I ended up pursuing a job at another company called The Marketing Store, which I landed on the McDonald's account, which was a totally different experience. Once again, this is a general market agency, and from then I became like an art director. And after that, while I was working I worked on McDonald's. I did a lot of event activations for McDonald's, such as CIAA, Essence Music Festival, so I did stuff like that. And then from then, I worked at a couple other agencies, Lil Burnett, and now I'm in Common Ground, so.
Okay. What are your duties as an art director? Are you actually supervising a team of artists, or are you really a one-woman show? What does that title entail?
Well, nowadays, the game of advertising has changed a lot. Nowadays they want art directors to pretty much know everything from, you have to design, you have to concept, you have to, sometimes at smaller shops you may have to keyline your own work, you might have to do some interactive work. I know some art directors that do some editing, so it's pretty crazy nowadays. So a lot of times it is kind of like a one-man show. You do have other art directors that may assist in different ways, but most of the time, a lot of agencies want you, the art director, to take on a lot of responsibilities. At my level, because I'm senior, I'm not managing anybody right now, but a lot of things that I do day-to-day basis is a lot of like keylining and improving and concepting and designing.
You mentioned pitching, some degree of travel, so that involves vocal skill.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that you're a member of Toastmasters International, probably the most well-known public speaking organization that helps you improve in that aspect. How has public speaking helped to advance your career?
Public speaking is very important in advertising, and I know a lot of art directors that are like deathly afraid of speaking. And if you don't know how to speak or sell that dream or that idea to the client, then you pretty much, you're pretty much just lost, and it's very important. You have to communicate to your client. You have to be able to tell them exactly how to sell their product and how to reach their audience. It is very important.
Here's a question that all of us collegians are always interested in, the compensation question. In general terms, don't want you to reveal any of your personal business, of course, but in general terms, what does compensation tend to be for an art director? Is it completely salary based? Is it contract based? Mm-hmm. Are there bonuses involved? How does that work financially?
Well, it depends on the level. The higher, of course, the higher level you are, the more money you make. Personally, when I was freelancing, I tell people all the time, you make a lot of money freelancing than you do full-time. When you're full-time, you don't have, even when you work weekends and late nights, there's no overtime. You're on salary most of the time. So it depends on the level and and then sometimes even your expertise. If you have a certain skill or a certain talent, or even if you are art director and know how to code for a particular program, of course you're valued more, so they're gonna pay more.
Do you have side projects that you do for fun or just for creative expression? You mentioned working with a friend from time to time, different things.
Yes, actually I do. I have a lot of freelance projects I do on the side, my own personal clients. I actually like doing that, because you have more creative range with your personal clients. A lot of my clients are like small business owners, so they're trying to get established and they need a lot of help with their branding and, and getting started with everything. So with that, they give you a lot of leeway with things. You have more control, so it's not all the politics and all the hierarchy and somebody's looking at your work and telling you no and you got to start over. It's just a direct one-on-one contact with the client and being engaged with them and getting to know the client. A lot of my clients I know personally. I'll have dinner with them or I know their family, and it's pretty cool.
So relationships are important.
Yeah, relationships are very important in business. So.
Sounds like it's fun being the boss.
It is. Sometimes.
Time consuming though.
Exactly, very time consuming. So.
What other art forms do you enjoy personally, and how do they inspire you professionally, if at all?
Well, outside of advertising and my freelance, when I have some time, I do paint on the side. I'm an artist. I've been painting for years and years and years, and I think I was into drawing and illustration when I was a kid, as I mentioned earlier, but I think when I started college I started getting into more digital work, and I kind of left that part of me behind. But as I got into the advertising world, I missed that part of me. I think that's my first love, is actually drawing and illustration. And that's also therapeutic for me. Sometimes when I'm stressed out or I feel like I'm being creatively stipend at work because I can't do the things that I need to do because of all the red tape with working with different brands, the bigger brands like your McDonald's, your Cokes and stuff like that. Sometimes I just want to just feel free. I just want to do what I want to do. So I think a lot of times I ended up just going back to art and start drawing more. Other than that, I do like to decorate. I do like to plant. I try to find other things to like help me inspire. I also like just going to the movies, just anything that's just to me that can help me grow. And I tell somebody all the time, I'm like a sponge. Anything, I get involved in a lot of things, music, just anything that I feel like that can take me to the next level and even help me develop my creativity in any way. It's just, it's great.
And tell us a little more about your company, Common Ground.
Common Ground is a multicultural agency here in Chicago. I've been working there for like 3 months now. It was started by two CEOs, both from Leo Burnett. The company is very young. It's a very young company. It started back in 2006. And at this company, I'm an art director, and what I do there, and I work on the Coke account and the Coors Light account as well. It's pretty interesting. We do a lot of event activations. We do a lot of retail marketing, POS, stuff like that. So, like I said, it's a multicultural agency, so a lot of stuff we work on is AA, Hispanic, and Asian stuff.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
I appreciate you helping me with my final project.